Hello. So I think we are live. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hi, Katie. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. So we are live streaming today into both the Flexible Working People community, Facebook group community, and to LinkedIn. So welcome to anyone who is joining us live, and also to anyone who is watching on replay. I know that we get a lot of people who tend to join and, who can't join live and who tend to watch it back later. So if you are listening and you have already joined, then please drop us a little hello or put a thumbs up and just let us know that you can see us and hear us. And maybe also just tell us whether you're watching live in Facebook or LinkedIn or watching on replay, so we get a sense of where people are and where they're watching from. So I'm Katie Friedman. I'm the founder of Flexible Working People, and I love doing these sessions with our partners and bringing people with insights to help us, to guide us through our sort of career journey and our life journeys. And today is a really interesting session, actually, something that affects everybody, which is about taking control of our financial state and our financial futures. And I think some people are very in control of it and know everything that's going on and plan, and other people sort of bury their heads a bit more in the sand and sort of tend to avoid thinking or talking or planning their finances, which can leave them in sticky situations. So things like money, retirement, pensions, savings, I think all of those sorts of words can feel really overwhelming and maybe a bit scary for some. And I think lots of us push financial planning to the bottom of the list because maybe it feels a bit complicated, a bit scary, a bit distant. And so that's why we're here today, and that's why we brought Rebecca in to help us to start to think about our finances and to feel a bit more confident about decisions and empower you to start taking sort of actionable, taking advice and starting to be more action orientated about your finances. So to give you a bit of background to Rebecca, Rebecca is a chartered financial planner at St James's Place and has set up her own financial planning business. After 20 years in the city as a fixed income sales trader, Rebecca retrained as a financial planner in 2019. Rebecca is a wife, a mum, and also a business owner running her own business, and really understands sort of the real life financial challenges that women face, and is really passionate about helping people take control of their financial decisions. So we're going to talk today about financial independence, simplifying some of those complicated things like pension, savings, tax planning, and giving you more confidence. So welcome, Rebecca, and welcome to anyone listening. I think that we'll start, Rebecca, by just maybe introducing you. Have been live with us before. We've done sessions like this before, but for those who don't know you, it would be really great for you just to share a bit about your background and your journey into financial advising and kind of what made you take the switch as well, because I think that's quite interesting because you made a career switch into this. So do you want to just start there? That would be brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Katie, and hello, everybody. So as Katie said, I'm Rebecca. I'm a financial planner. And I've been doing this now for 5 years. I was an investment banker previously, working on the trading floor. And as a mother of 3 children, I decided that, that job had really run its course and I wanted to have a bit more flexibility. I left in 2016 and I joined the St James's Place Academy in 2019. So I had 3 years at home with our children before they grew up and didn't want to hang out with me anymore. And I think in that time, it gave me a time to reassess what I really loved about my previous role and what I wanted to take forward. And for me, I love the client contact of my previous role. I loved finance. I did maths at university. So I was very numerical, but you honestly don't have to be to do this job. And actually in my time off, I did a lot of charity work, working as a family counsellor, helping families, talking to them about their situation, and I absolutely loved that. So that's something. These are things that I really took forward. That I liked helping people. I was interested in people, and that is what this job is all about. I help people from all different walks of life, no matter what stage in the career they are, different income levels, different family situations, whether they're employed or self-employed. I love learning about people and helping them. And I think finance is something that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people, as Katie says, it's last on the list. They're juggling their job. They're just, keeping their kids alive. And it's, if they don't actually have money worries, they've got enough at their bank account at the end of the month, they don't necessarily think it's a top priority. But honestly, the number of people who I meet and who wish they'd done it earlier, they'd buried their head in the sand for far too long. There's just too many. People are making mistakes every single day, and I am here to help them, guide them through.
So that's a really good introduction. Thank you. I think what's really interesting about what you've just said is it doesn't matter what stage you are, or also I would say, and I think you mentioned kind of how much wealth you've got, because people sort of go through their month to month, sort of feeling like they're making ends meet, don't necessarily think that they should be engaged in financial planning, because they feel like you have to have accumulated wealth to be engaged, and that's not the fact. So I think that's a really interesting point that you just made. You don't really, you don't have to have accumulated wealth. It's about protecting your future and just thinking about what you have got. And so, financial planning is something everybody should be thinking about. So let's just talk about some of the common concerns and things that you deal with on a day-to-day. There are key things like debt and pensions and savings, financial protection, those types of things. Just talk us through what some of those sort of things that you're dealing with regularly on a day-to-day with your clients.
I mean, first of all, when I first meet a client, we always talk about being rich and being wealthy. And actually, being rich is everything that's above the surface, the shiny cars, that is almost like the tangible wealth. But being wealthy it starts at the bottom. It starts about putting in really good foundations. And those foundations aren't necessarily sexy, but my goodness me, you would be very, very happy. If life throws a curveball at you, you need to make sure that your finances are robust. Whether that's, putting wills in place. I don't help clients put wills in place, but I recommend that they do. And actually just looking at their protection, a lot of our listeners will be employed. They will have protection policies through their employers. But I bet a lot of the time people haven't actually really concentrated on what they are and what they would mean. So I really do work clients through, looking at their protection policies. What would happen if they became ill? What happens if a family member became ill? What happens if, worst case scenario, they died, their husband died, especially if they had children? How would their family cope with something like that? And I don't know about you, Katie, but I know you recently turned 50. Sorry if you're keeping that quiet. Since I entered
my announced it on LinkedIn, it's fine. Go on.
Since I entered my 50s, it feels like I've entered Sniper Alley. There's so many people that I know personally, whether clients or friends or acquaintances, who have become ill or who have sadly died. And it's just becoming a really real situation. And this is what I want to protect people against. So in short, that's one of the first things that we talk about. And then we move on to, looking at saving schemes and whether that be ISAs and pensions. But, it's very much starting at the beginning,
So let's start at the beginning. So let's start at the beginning and talk about things like budgeting, because that's really important. So that's kind of taking it back to basics. So what do you advise people? Because I want to make the session as practical as we can. What do you advise people about being engaged in what their incoming and outgoing finances look like? What does that look like from a budgeting perspective?
Yes, certainly. It really is getting a handle on how much you've got coming into your household on a monthly basis and how much you've got going out on a monthly basis. Everybody's household is different. Some may have two parents, some may have one parent. Some couples manage their money together, some couples manage their money separately. There's not any right or wrong way of doing this. It's whatever works for you, but it is just having visibility and looking at all, are you doubling up on your payments, looking at all your direct debits. I know my husband and I did this exercise a year or so ago, and we both found that we were both paying for the same newspaper subscription. Well, that was a waste of money. That was £30 a month that I would cancel from mine and he can pay from his. And it really is back to basics. How much have you got coming in? And then setting yourself a budget. I like to look at the rule of the 50-30-20 rule. So 50% of your income coming in may be spent on essentials. That's either rental, mortgage, food, bills. 30% spent on discretionary income. Now that's the fun money. And then 20% spent on 20% you can save. And really is creating a budget to save, making sure that money goes out of your account on payday if you can. A lot of people build up money in their company pension schemes because they've never actually had that money. It never touches their account, and that is a great way. That's a great way to save, setting up that direct debit so it goes out of your account on payday.
Great. Okay, so there's some practical budgeting. Are there any budgeting spreadsheets that you can share with people if they were to work with you?
There are plenty. I mean, there are plenty, and actually, I would say first and foremost, go to your bank. I was looking at my NatWest account, and they've now got a spending tab on there, so you can really, really keep track of where your money's going. Because let's face it, we all wonder where our money's going. We all spend more than we probably think we do, and it just gives you then, if you monitor it over a couple of months, it gives you visibility of where your money's going and where you can perhaps make some savings.
Okay, great. So you just talked about the 50-30-20 rule, which I love, and people can definitely implement that straight away. And then now let's talk about the 20%, because that's also the interesting bit. So that's the longer term planning. So assuming you've got that piece, the 20%,
absolutely.
Let's talk about what sort of things should people be thinking about when thinking about that longer term piece?
It really is thinking about what your goals are. What are you saving money for? And we all save more proactively if we're saving for something. A rainy day fund is great to have, but actually if you're saving for children's university fees, if you're saving for retirement, if you're saving for a new kitchen, you're more likely to be proactive with your savings. I like to say, and actually just breaking it down into savings, I say to clients, the 3-pot rule. Your first pot is your emergency fund. So even before you're looking at investing, look at, you need to keep some money in cash, maybe 3 to 6 months worth of essential expenditure. Just keep that in cash. And then the second pot is any expenditure in the next 0 to 5 years. So are you saving up for a car? Are you saving up for a deposit for a house or something? And again, that should be kept in cash because markets go up and markets go down. And then the third pot is your long-term savings. So that's your 5 years plus bucket. And it's really important to look at, again, how much of that can you afford not to touch until retirement? Now, pensions can be touched 10 years before state retirement age. So me, age 52, my state retirement age is 67. I'd be able to touch my pensions at 57. Can you put your money away until then, or do you need access to it sooner? So it really does depend on, being realistic, planning out potential spends that you need. And certainly if you think you need to get access to it earlier, then ISAs are good. You've got either cash ISAs or stocks and shares ISAs, up to £20,000 a year. That amount will seem huge for some people. It will seem small for others, but it's really important, to use these allowances as you go. And if you can afford to put your money away until retirement age, then pensions are hugely tax efficient.
Yeah. So we're talking about, there's a lot of big things here and we can't get into the nitty gritty of them all. So we're sort of going to skate over a bit of it. But I think one of the other questions that comes up a lot, and I think about it, is how the impact of age and whether on your strategy, on your financial strategy, and whether it's ever too late. And I think we have had some questions that have been submitted prior to this, which we will try and get to. But how does age impact this strategy? Is it ever too late to start? Because I think a lot of people think that if you haven't been planning since sort of your 20s, 30s, and now you're sort of in your 40s or 50s, where do you start? Is it too late to start?
Yeah, being honest, the earlier you start, the better. But actually, if today's the day you start, better you start than not. I've got one client who is 66. She's just started a business and she's just started a personal pension because it's a lot more tax efficient to take the money out of her business and put it into a pension than it is because it's saving corporation tax and dividend tax. And she's 60. Yeah, she's 66. She's hoping to live for another 25, 30 years. So we are all living longer and longer. So
if you don't get hit by a sniper rally, obviously, in your 50s.
Unless you get, yes, exactly. If you can avoid those snipers.
So much.
If you can avoid the pitfalls,
we're all living longer. Yes.
Then and joking aside, we do plan for a long, healthy life, but we have to make sure that we are protected if something does happen. So I would say, in short, no, it's never too late to start a pension.
Okay. And then I think there's this sort of question around women versus men in terms of taking ownership and being engaged in sort of the financial aspect. Some women tend to not get involved. They're less engaged in sort of investment and long-term financial planning. Is that something that you find? And what sort of things can we do to change that?
Hugely. And actually, Katie, it's really interesting because I talk to people of all ages. The younger generation, so the 20s, women in their 20s seem super engaged about their finances. But it's actually people our age and, almost people 40s upwards who seem to be less engaged. And I don't know whether that's because social media wasn't around when we were younger, or they don't believe everything that you read, that you see on social media. Lack of education, or if perhaps the women are not the main breadwinners in the family, they don't feel that it's up to them to be engaged. But actually, everybody needs money. Everybody needs security. Whether you're the main breadwinner or not, it's really important to engage with this and actually, speak to your partner about it too. Two heads are better than one. They're not always right. And women live for longer. They have potentially got much longer retirements to plan for. So
yes, okay. And do you work with a lot of women?
I work with a lot of women, yes. Whether they're the main breadwinners, whether they're not, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're not. I work with a lot of women and a lot of couples. And so, and increasingly often, it's actually the women who are pushing to take financial advice. I think women are better at asking for help, to be honest. So in the long run, that will serve them better. But also with women living longer, the transition of wealth into the hands of women is increasing all the time.
Absolutely. And also, I think women like talking to women about financial advice as well. And there's obviously more women joining the financial services sector and becoming financial advisors. And that's one of the reasons I know attracted you, and women like to work with other women and talk about it. So if anyone is watching and thinking that they'd be interested in doing this as a career, obviously St James's Place is one of our partners. And, if you are interested, you can have a conversation with Rebecca following
Absolutely.
this. We can introduce you to find out more about sort of the training and so on. But women, do you find that women tend to prefer to talk to women about financial advice?
100%. They absolutely do. I think women understand women. People aren't, we've all got our things that we like spending money on. We've all got our emotional attachments, but I do feel the relationship that I have with my clients is a lot more personal than some of the relationships that my male colleagues have with their clients. But I also find that, again, going back to that piece that women are outliving men, a lot of couples come to me because they know that, they think it's likely that their wife is going to outlive them, and that they want their wife to have a female financial advisor. So it's almost like future-proofing their family.
Okay, that's really interesting. I also think there's an interesting split between employed and self-employed, because there's a lot more you get in terms of financial protection when you're employed than when you're self-employed. And I know that we've got a huge following of people who are maybe self-employed and don't have all those protections that you get necessarily with employment, things like pensions and different protections. Can you just talk a little bit about that and the difference between those and how you can support people who are self-employed as well?
100%. I think once you move into self-employment, and actually, I've made that transition. I was employed when I was a banker. I'm self-employed now. So I'm speaking from personal level and a professional level. You don't realize the benefits that you may get as an employee. And if you're self-employed, you've got to put all of these in place. It's hard when you start up. If you're starting a business and you're self-employed, it's hard making ends meet, and it's hard thinking about all of these things. But honestly, often the biggest pension pots that I see are those people who have been employed. Whereas if you're self-employed, you've got to actively contribute to a pension, but it's hugely tax efficient to do so. Actively think about the scenario. If you're ill, who's going to look after you? If you're ill and your business relies on you to generate the income, do you need to insure against that in case you're knocked over by a bus tomorrow? And actually, worst case scenario, what happens if that bus kills you and that you are no longer around? How is your family going to survive? So it's doom and gloom, but it is worth putting in those protection policies. But even if you're employed, there are some things that certainly having life insurance against your mortgage that I would recommend having as a private policy in case you move jobs or made redundant. You don't want to lose all of your protection as well as your job.
Sorry, you cut out there. I think I just repeat the last bit.
I said if you've got your certainly having life assurance against your mortgage, I would recommend having a private policy, because if you do find yourself being made redundant, you don't want to lose all your family protection as well as your income.
Right. Okay, great. So we've got some questions that have been submitted from people ahead of this session, and I wanted to take the time to go through some of those because I think that that's what today is about, offering some practical advice. Now, if anyone's got any questions who is watching, and I know that we've got a couple that have come through, please post them here and we'll try and cover them in the last sort of 7 or 8 minutes. But I'll start with the ones that were sent through, and it was kind of what the first question totally plays into what we were just talking about. So the first one is, can you give some advice on whether and how to start a pension in my 50s after 10 years out of corporate work and pension scheme? Now working freelance and part-time, is it worth starting a personal pension now, or are ISAs a better bet at this stage, or something else?
I mean, both pensions and ISAs are really tax efficient. Again, it depends when you want the money, but it's certainly not too late to start a pension. Pensions are tax efficient. On the way in, you get tax relief. And the higher tax band you fall into, so if you're earning over £50,000 a year, you'll be paying 40% tax. If you're earning over £125,000 a year, you're paying 45% tax. So definitely do not discount pensions. And going back to my lady who's 66 and just started hers, it's not too late for her. I'm going to actually just drop in some really practical advice, which I think will resonate with a lot of the community. Contributing to a pension can reduce your adjusted net income, which means that for child benefit, for example, now once you earn over £60,000 a year, you start to lose your child benefit. If you, just as a quick example, if you're earning £65,000 a year, your child benefit will be tapered. If you contributed an extra £5,000 to your pension, you'd bring your adjusted net income down to 60,000, and you would
still be eligible for the child benefit.
Eligible for child benefit. Obviously, the more children you have, the more profitable that is. And I know at 100,000, you start. There's a lot of tax. Now, my children are older, so I don't know the exact terminology, but there are a lot of childcare vouchers that you are no longer eligible for once you earn over £100,000 a year. So if you earn £103,000 a year, if you put that extra £3,000 into a pension, then you may find yourself eligible for those childcare vouchers again. Again, lots of terms and conditions, but just as a quick overview, I think that's really relevant to your community.
Really relevant. And another one on pensions. I have at least 10 different pensions from previous roles. So a lot of people have this because they move around and the pensions are in all sorts of different pots. So I have no idea how much I have in a pension. I'm 50. Should I combine them into one?
I think it's not a quick answer, but I think, yes, look at combining them. Some of them, you need to have a pension audit done. If you give me a call, I do pension audits all the time, and it would be a case of helping you search for them and working out what you've got and where it's going. Some of them might have some protected benefits that you wouldn't want to give up. But certainly, if you combine your pensions, you're much more likely, one, to have a better idea of how much pension provision you have and how much more you need to save. And two, well, I mean, it might be quite a large pot of money. A lot of the time, people's pensions are their second most valuable asset, second to their family home.
Interesting. Okay, then another one. There are 4 of them are on pensions, actually. I don't know how much I should be putting into my pension. Is it not worth rather investing in property?
Gosh, the great British public, they love their property. But you know what? So does HMRC, because it's so tax inefficient. I think the day, let's face it, we've all heard those glory stories of people buying buy-to-lets and then being paid off and creating this great passive income. People don't tend to talk about the ones that didn't go quite so well. They are really, do your sums on it. Pensions are a lot more tax efficient than property. If you suddenly, and think about capacity as well. If you're managing a family, managing a job, can you manage tenants as well? What happens if the tenants need a new boiler? Do you have £2,000 to pay for that new boiler? And imagine doing that in your 40s, and then imagine doing that in your 60s. Huge. And that's before you've done all the sums. Mortgage rates are high now.
I think there was a heyday for property investment for sure. I think now with the tax implications and everything else that goes with it, as you say, pensions are more tax efficient.
Whatever you go into, just go into it with your eyes open.
Eyes open. Okay, good. Then we have another one. I have different pension providers through various roles. Is it advisable to consolidate? We've covered that. Every time I moved from one job to another, I didn't make any contributions to my previous private pension. We sort of covered that.
Yeah. Look at consolidating them, but don't give up any valuable benefits. I think it's the key.
Okay, so one thing I really want to focus on before we close, and we are coming towards the end of our session, is debt. I think that we talk a lot about investing and money that we have got, but there's going to be people who are in debt, and someone has said here, how do I deal with debt? What advice do you have? Should people still seek professional financial advice if you are grappling with debt? And what advice do you have for those who are in debt?
I think recognizing the fact that anybody can suffer from financial hardship, financial troubles, whether it's through bad management, lack of financial education, or just bad luck, is something that, and reaching out is really, really important. I think being in debt, depending on the size of the debt and where it is, it can cause huge impact on mental and physical health. And it's really important to be honest with yourself and to look at how much you owe and where it is, and not to look for any quick fixes like the payday loans or consolidation loans, because they will end up costing you more. Speak to a family member if you can. If you can't, there are lots of charities who help people just like you. I would say that the Citizen Advice Bureau is a really good place to start. Or there are some other debt charities. There's a debt advice line, again, that can signpost you to people that can help you set up a repayment plan, and just to believe that many people are in debt and they do get through it, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. But it's actually recognizing it that's often the hardest bit, and you are not alone, definitely not.
No, I think with debt, it's very much a bury your head in the sand and just keep going. But actually, if you can take your head out and start having those conversations and being open about it, speaking to family members and speaking to citizens' advice and so on, is a great start point in trying to get on top of it rather than just keep burying yourself in it. But
I think it's with interest rates where they are as well, that a lot of the time, if you're it really is a case of being honest. If it's making you feel ill and you're not meeting your minimum payments, or even just meeting your minimum payments, then do reach out, because there are people that can help you.
Okay, thank you. We've got somebody who's watching who has written. I'm going to read it because I don't know what a pension B is, but we've got pensions. A few years ago, I consolidated mine into pension B. Do you know what that is? And then got a job with a final salary pension. I have 3 short-term auto enrolment ones too, but not sure if they should go into PB too. What's PB?
Pension B. They're a government organisation that can help you consolidate pensions. Certainly, final salary pensions are gold dust. You don't often get those. So before giving up any final salary pension, well, you don't want to be giving up any final salary pensions. But certainly, if you've got smaller ones, talk to Pension B about it, and they can help you consolidate those.
Okay, and then the same person has said, I used my savings when I lost my job and struggled to get a new one. I went from 65,000 to 0 to minimum wage. I'm in so much debt now, and I'm in the process of renting out my home and moving in with my mum long term. It's going to be a long-term move, so wondering if it's better to sell and put a large amount in my pension and pay off my debts.
I think that's too complicated to answer here. I think speak to the Citizens Advice Bureau, and it sounds like, luckily it sounds like you've got a good mum that you can move back in with, and hopefully things will get better. But I can't give you that advice on.
Sorry, Sarah, we can't get into the detail on that one, but definitely seek advice. And you say Citizens Advice Bureau. Okay, well, we're going to wrap there. It's because we've gone to time now. So thank you. I thought that was a great session. So much practical advice that people can take away. The ladies just said thank you for your answers to her questions.
Okay.
I think if you are listening and you do want to sort of get on top of your finances and take back more financial control, Rebecca's open for, I think, you have complimentary sessions, don't you? Complimentary health checks.
Yes, exactly. I'll put my email address at the bottom or on the Facebook chat. And if you would like a no obligation financial health check, then we can sit down and we can do that on Zoom for half an hour. The process is I send you a questionnaire and we talk, you fill it in. It's a very quick questionnaire. And then we can go through the things that, your top topics that you would like to discuss with me.
Great. And also, well, finally, for those who have been listening and have enjoyed listening to Rebecca and feel like this could be something that you'd enjoy doing, obviously St James's Place offers a financial academy, financial planning advisor academy, where you can retrain to become a financial advisor. So if this is something that you think could be a great career move for you, if you're looking to pivot and are interested in that, then you can learn more about the St James's Place Financial Advisor Academy and opportunities that they have. We'll drop a link into the comments below this, and you can also reach out to Rebecca, and I'm sure she'd be happy to ask any questions, or I can make an introduction to the team at the Academy, who will also be more than happy to have a conversation about what that looks like. So with that, it's lunchtime. Have a great day. For anyone who's listening, I hope you found that really helpful. It's great to be a partner with St James's Place. I love sessions like this just because they offer so much practical advice, which I think people really value. Rebecca, thank you so much for your time today, and we will see you soon in another session back in the group where you can help some more people.
Thanks, Katie, for having me. And please do reach out to me, either financial health check, or if you'd like to know more about the Academy. I have to say it's one of the best things that I've done.
And also you talked about pension audits, and I think that could be something. We've had so many questions on pensions. So if anyone is interested in Rebecca doing a pension audit for you, and that sounds interesting, do reach out to Rebecca directly and set up some time to have a conversation. All right, thanks so much, Rebecca. Take care.
Nice
Thanks,
to see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.